Okay, we're on.
All right.
So on a grander scale, and the thing that so many white people just don't understand is that simply because, and I'm going way back, simply because slavery ended, simply because um, there was the end of the well, on paper, I should say, the end of the Jim Crow era, the Civil
Yeah,
Rights
because
Act
apparently
in
that
the
shit's
60s.
still real alive around here.
Right. So I had to put that disclaimer in there. Simply because these events happened on a legal and official level, by no means does that mean that all these prejudices that were built over years and years back from when we were 3/5 of a person, they don't just fade away, because if culturally, you know, it's still practiced,
But
you know, behind closed doors up until, or fairly behind closed doors until fairly recently. But if those attitudes are still there, then it's going to show up in moments of, like you said, moments of extreme anger, extreme emotion. So, like, if you take the Drew Brees comments, for example, his first comments before he backtracked like a Pro Bowl cornerback,
mm-hmm.
he 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 goes what are one of the many common
Yep.
routes of defense, which is
Insist.
flag, patriotism, what it means to be, you know, a true American, and so on and so on and so on. That's one of the things that they always go back to is,
Yep.
well, you know, you disrespect the flag, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, and I thought, as soon as I saw those comments, I thought to myself, okay, well, how many times have I spoken on Quora about my grandfather who served in Korea and came back to a country that's still, where he had to go to the back of the diner to pick up his food, can't even go inside, can't stay in the same hotel, you know, all that stuff. And
But he was fighting for this country. Yeah.
right, through all that, he still fought, and is still to this day, 89 years old, still very proud of that fact.
Yep.
Despite all that. And Breeze's grandfathers, they could come back to this country, you know,
Gross.
kiss that woman in Times Square, the sailor, you know, all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
He, like, just, again, I'm not surprised, but it's like, it's the blinding lack of understanding of what Kaepernick knelt for. Not, he didn't, you know, raise his fist. He simply knelt after getting the advice from a military member on what the best way to protest was, respectfully, you know. And he just didn't get it until all those people called him out on that shit, and suddenly, like I said, I mean, he was just backtracking, you know.
He tucked it right back in the closet. Back in the closet. You know, that's the sad part, BG. Okay, I was earlier this week, when I had, you know, posted that nobody better touch my co-host while he's, you know, down in LA. I spoke with Earl, you know, from the column on the phone. You know that he is the 34th member of his family to serve in the U.S. military, okay? His granddaddy went to college and got an accounting degree in 1956, okay? Do you know what that man must have went through?
Ooh.
And you know why Earl called me? It was to thank me for speaking out. And I said, please don't do that. Please do not do that, because this is not something I should even need to do. This should already have been done. How the fuck has this not phased out yet, BG? Who keeps training these fucking Nazis? How is it not? Look, don't we make them go to school? We make them go to school, right? Like, it's mandatory now, right?
Yeah.
So how have people not been educated to the point where they understand that this should not be even in the closet anymore? This should have been gone with their granddaddies. Who keeps teaching these people this shit? Who keeps I don't comprehend. And my own family, my own damn family. I have a cousin who is a cop. Okay, it's actually my cousin, the boxer's son. Okay, my other cousin, who I have loved dearly my whole life. All right, my cousin Harv. Don't you know I had to take his bitch ass off of my damn social media because his comments were so pro blue that they were anti civil right. And I almost lost my fucking mind. My cousin, who I have looked up to, who I have, how did I not know this? So, of course, I'm mad at myself. What, why didn't I see this? Why? Because I know it didn't just happen overnight. It came, right? So when the fuck, when did this happen? Because we grew up together, the same. So where did he get that poison from? You know, was he drinking some Kool-Aid that I didn't get? Or what happened here? So needless to say, he ain't on my shit no more, and I really don't. I just can't see that happening again. I can't see me seeing that side of you and ever looking at you the same way. You know. They just.
Well, you just mentioned supporting the blue, and I don't think I'd actually written about this yet. There was at some point I'm going to, but I was going to or am going to write about what the responses to the initial wave of the Black Lives Matter movement, and then the responses to those, the All Lives Matter, Thin Blue Line, and basically the premise is that all of those things didn't really exist until, an underserved group started to protest about unfair treatment. That suddenly we get these responses, and when it comes to, especially comes to the Thin Blue Line and support the blue, back the blue, all that stuff.
Yeah.
What I really don't understand is how people, including Mr. Orangutan dude, how someone can blindly support a group and not see any faults or fallacies in them. And
if it was them, Brian, if listen, if it was them, I'll tell you this though. Every white dude I know that's been to county jail, he ain't hearing that shit. He ain't hearing that shit at all, because he's been on a felony stop. He's been, face down on the pavement. He knows what the scenario is. These jackbooted bitches don't give two hot damns about you. Listen, if some shit goes down at your house, they ain't coming there to save you. It says in their contracts they ain't got to save you. They don't give a fuck about you. They care about them. That's the thing. If there was a us and a them, it ain't a us and a them, me and you thing, B. It's the us and a them, we, them. You know what I mean? They got blue, period, at the end of the day. That's why nobody stopped that shit when it was George. That's why it took so long to get justice for Breonna. That's why it took GBI get involved, up there in Georgia. You know what I mean? For Ahmaud. If there is not a camera on it, them bitches cover for each other all the way down the line.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. It is not a black and white thing. It's a blue and black and white thing. I cannot comprehend how these people are not seeing this shit. How do you listen? And I'll tell you how I know, because Tyler, my first husband, the one who would rather buy the weed than pay the light bill.
Mm-hmm.
he had a battery on a Leo. So we was always felony stop. Always driver, let me see your hands. Passenger, let me. At 19, I learned that shit, you know. There was never a question in my mind. They gonna do me the same way they do these brothers out here, you know, because in their eyes, I'm the same thing. I'm not blue. I'm anti-blue, apparently. You know what I'm saying? Listen, they don't care. They don't give a damn. The only thing is, with the mentality that these assholes have, these Jethros out here have, what they're doing is they are providing the blind eye to be turned when they do what they do to black men out here in the streets, you know, because of these racist ass pieces of shit out here who are supporting these motherfuckers. That's why they're allowed to do what they do to black men.
It's the,
you know, and black women, let's not forget about them, you know.
Yeah. It's the worship of them that I find so, you know, so you know, but it goes along with like the difference between like say patriotism and jingoism, you know.
Yep.
Patriotism, I mean, you can love your country but still see its flaws and want it to improve, and that's where I am, you know, where I want to see things improve, but that doesn't automatically mean that I hate my country.
Absolutely.
But these jingoistic people who just refuse to see any flaw, and we see them on car all the time. The people that just
oh yeah,
you know, you can't say a bad word about the U.S. at all to them because they just lose their minds.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you what now. You already seen, boy, drop it at the door. And I think that's why I got my time out now. You know what I'm saying? But I just don't give a rat's ass. Look, it's like this. I got the most, listen, I'm about to bust these stilettos out the closet and just show you, okay? But my red, white, and blue stilettos don't fuck around, all right? I've been known to give a flag like nobody's business, but I know what I see going on around me. And I know the shit is fucked up. This is not my USA. This is not what I want my country to be. This is not what I feel that freedom is. So where's my idea of freedom? You know, who do I need to shove the fuck down and stand on their motherfucking neck to get my idea of freedom? You know, this shit is not cool. This shit is not okay. This shit is inexcusable. 145 fucking years later, how is this still happening? If you seriously can defend these Nazis' actions, baby, you got problems. You for real, you need a fucking lobotomy, you know? And I say that 100% serious. You know, it's like I said, I got some luggage. You're welcome to come by and get it. Pack your shit up. Head on out to Greenland, Nova Scotia, wherever the fuck it is that everybody is pasty ass white. Take your ass there, okay? But get the fuck from around here, because this is not okay.
You know, it always makes me laugh when I see that type of attitude towards, like, you know, who the kind of Americans that a lot of these people like think are real Americans versus the ones that are not, you know what I mean? And you think about it, okay, so it came from Europe, right? Took the land from the Native Americans, brought us over, and came through Mexico, you know, the Spaniards wiped out the Aztecs, went down into South America, you know, the Incas, and so on and so on. I mean, we've all heard the names before, you know, Cortez, Pizarro, and all those guys. So they come over, bring us over, take the land from the native peoples. And then even when Mexico, or when the former Spanish Empire was here, they drove them out to form, you know, the western part of the U.S.
Sure, and down through my house.
Indians.
Yep, down through my house. Don't forget, they had
exactly.
Yep.
And yet, you know, this whole notion that somehow being like specifically white Christian, Protestant Christian. Let me. Make
that clear. Get that Protestant in there now.
You know.
They, like, don't you know that They're perfection, baby. They're perfection. Shit. Them Protestants, what? You didn't know?
And somehow like that's the notion of what it's to them, what a true American looks like. And yet, I think to myself, well, if you really didn't want us to be here in the first place, you should have sent us back after slavery ended. You really should have sent us all over to Liberia or something. But you know what?
Sure.
We're here, and quite frankly, for a lot of people that I know whose parents came over, in the late 19th century, early 20th century. I mean, my family's been here since slavery, since before slavery, or since what, the 1700s or so, 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, theoretically, I'm more American than that person, or that person, or that person whose parents came over in like 1907 or something. I mean, I've been here longer. My family has been here longer. I have no culture to look back on. I can't say, oh, me and my Irish heritage or my Italian heritage. Like, it's, ethnically, I'm West African, but culturally, I'm 100% American.
Absolutely.
So,
like I said, you're more American than me, because, well, my granddaddy, we can trace that all the way back to the Trail of Tears on my mama's side. That's all Cherokee and Irish there. But I told you, my on my daddy's side, I'm first generation, so you got a whole lot of years on me, as far as that goes. And yet when people look at us, apparently I'm the fucking American out of the two of us. Get the fuck out of here.
mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm saying. These motherfuckers with their antiquated fucking ideas, what they're doing is, it's like I say, the only way you can not like black people is because you don't know no fucking black people. Go fucking hang out in the hood for a day, man. First of all, you'll barbecue some shit and it'd be delicious. Secondarily, you can fucking sit around and cut up with folk all day. And thirdly, maybe it'll loosen your fucking bitch ass up a little bit because you got to stick up your ass and it's not okay. It's.
But you just hit up on a key point there, and this is one of the things I've written about in the past. When I've written about my various adventures in other places, there are so many people in this country who like don't encounter any non-white people whatsoever. Where I've been up in Oregon, California, where I live now, I'm up in those states in the Idahos, Montanas, all this other stuff up there.
The militia states.
Yeah, there are people who just don't encounter anyone who doesn't look like them at all. So all their ideas they get about other groups of people, Black, Hispanic, whatever, Chinese, whatever, like all of it is either from
media,
the media, the internet. So they have no practical experience at all. And of course, if all they do, let's say if they're leaning more conservative, which a lot of them do up there, and of course if they start listening to old boy, yeah, they're all going to be what him, Breitbart, and the whole nine, Stormfront, all that stuff. That's all they're going to hear, and it's generational, of course, but that's all they hear and see about different groups of people. And therefore, all their ideas are all warped. So when I come through town, it's like a freak show sometimes. Like, wow, he's real. Look at that. Wow. And he talks normally. He's not
exactly.
But that, it's I wouldn't call it aggressions, but it's like these little like micro incidents, where somebody may like say something or like look at me strangely when I just speak like I always do. And this is and I don't put any kind of front. Like, this is my normal voice. I speak like this all the time,
Exactly.
But the fact that, on the phone, talking to customers on the phone, for example, talk to them on the phone, they see me in person, and they're just,
they can't equate your voice with your look because they've been so brainwashed to believe that every Black male speaks like Tupac, or you know what I'm saying? They can't comprehend for a moment that A, number one, you're educated. B, number two, you ain't got a lick of thug in you. You know what I'm saying? And they can't wrap their fucking brain around it. Therefore, they have to, I don't know if they just, see you as a fucking anomaly or, you know,
Yeah.
they,
Yeah.
yeah, they see you as the exception to the rule and not the rule, you know,
You're one of the
and
good
that's what
ones,
kills
Brian.
me. Like, what what is really happening here? Where do you not understand, assholes? These people been fighting for an education for how fucking long? Did you think they wasted it? Get the fuck out of here.
What I think in many cases, excuse me, is that, you know, they have a stereotype, and when I break the stereotype, there's this, like you said, this level of just
What?
what am I looking at? What am I?
Yeah.
You know, it happens. It happens so many times up there that, and this goes back to when I was young, really young. Um, if you are the only well, I'd say non-white person, or in an all-male environment, which of course you can attest to, if you're the only woman in that environment, if you're any minority in a majority environment, they are going to base all of their, first of all, they're going to have to confront all the stereotypes about whatever you are, you know, if you break that mold or not or whatever, and then also you are going to be the basis from then on in of how they feel about your whatever your group is. Like, so when I was younger, um, in what, elementary school and stuff, you know, I remember kids asking me, like, why do you people do this? Why do people do that? And then once they got to know me a little longer, then I became the basis for their entire for their entire view on Black people. And it didn't occur to me until when I was later to think to myself, wait a minute, I don't base my entire view of white people on you, an individual, or you, an individual. Yet you do it to me all the time. Like, that's not fair. But
because you're the only person of color that they know. You're
right.
the only person of color that they've encountered. And, you know, I was speaking with Huggy about this earlier in the week. Now, you know that Huggy grew up in Montana to a white mother, okay? Huggy and his sister were the only people of color pretty much in the entire fucking state of Montana, you know? And to this day, you know, because he, like I said, he has, you know, 2 masters, you know, and he's a motivational speaker. So he deals with large groups of white corporate individuals, you know, upper management, you know, whatever, you know, which largely are, you know, made up of Biff. You know what I'm saying? So Huggy gets to deal with Biff all the time. And for those Biffs, Huggy is the only person of color that they affiliate with, you know? Well, that and their, you know, junior management staff that they, you know, feel so proud to tell you about, you know, that I'm not racist at all. Yeah, exactly. Look at my Black friend. Here's my Black friend, you know? And you already knew I was going to take it there now. But he has been, you know, just overrun with, you know, all of the white people that he has, you know, coached to and affiliates with and whatnot, basically checking in on him and then asking him the person of color questions. Well, is it okay if do you feel it's racist if and Huggy's just like, okay, I'm not sure if you know this, but I'm only one person of color. There's a whole bunch more out there now. You know, and so of course, and this is exactly why I checked in on him. You know, I shot him a message. I'm like, hey, you all right? You know, and he's like, I've just been answering. I was like, I figured, you know, are you okay? And he's just like, it's been exactly what you think it's been. Yeah, I'm sure it has, you know.
It's like, but you're Black, so how do Black people
is it okay if, you know, I had chicken for dinner last night and I want to know if my neighbor thinks, like, bitch, are you serious? You know, first of all, this man has 2 fucking master's degrees, and you want to sit there and ask him if it is racist for you to fucking pick up KFC and bring it home? Get the fuck out of here. You know, like, come at this man with something intelligent, or get the fuck out of here. And it just floors me. And that's why I knew you're going through the same shit, and I was just like, man, I gotta stay checking in on dude right now, like B-Man. I know B-Man's out there going through it, because you, you being who you are, B-Man, you're educated, you're eloquent, you're just you're B-Man, and of course you break the mold, you break the stereotype, and for people that have not dealt with you or a million other intelligent black men out here, they don't know how to take it. Therefore, you become the crown POC in their life, and Brian, can you please answer all of my questions about black people? Because I'm not quite certain, but I think that it might be racist if I allowed to say black. Is that okay? What what am I really supposed to be saying? Get the fuck out of here. Like I'm just fucking blown away.
So I actually, this would have been Wednesday. I had an incident like that actually, where I was I was east of LA proper, and
East of LA, get the fuck out.
there was
that's
this
a movie.
there was this older white couple, and they had they were both like kind of old hippies, and they had a Black Lives Matter little sign in their yard. So I'm thinking, okay, at least someone get shot here. Cool.
Right.
So I go up and start talking to them, and the lady sees me, and the first thing, I kid you not, the first thing she asks was, "How are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm fine." It was a nice sunny day.
She's taking the temperature. She's taking the temperature, and we ain't talking Fahrenheit.
And I mean, of course, I knew what she was talking about, but I was trying to be, professional.
Sure.
With that, And it's like, well, and then I think she thought that I didn't understand what she was saying. Come on, but she's, well, I mean, considering all this going on, I mean, how are you?
How are you really doing?
Have you been around the city lately? And
God.
So I did say, well, we were instructed not to go around Beverly Hills until last week, so I did go out there last week. It's like, oh no. Did you have any problems? And I said, well, I was in a neighborhood where often it's one of the main streets in I think it was maybe Santa Monica, either Santa Monica or Wilshire, one of the main streets around that area where businesses were boarded up. And so yeah, I was over there, and I mean, I had all my PPE and on my ID and all that stuff, so I was dressed officially and all. But initially, yeah, I did get a few like little small looks, and then they saw that I put my cones out and everything, and was fine after that. But it's like, and she just like she was so mad for me. It was very bizarre. She's just like, she took her glasses off, just I cannot believe.
Brian, it's all we can do, though. It's all we can do because, and of course, send you your new uniform, which is, dear police, I'm a white woman, we can't do nothing else. And it's like I said, I straight body block a bitch, if that's what needs to be done. I'm coming to be glued to your side, kid, until, I'm saying? Until some shit blow the fuck over,
I mean, to be clear, like I wasn't upset at her or anything. I was just,
yeah, no,
it was just more that we actually talked for about him and her husband, him and I. We talked for about half an hour or so because they were they were asking me questions. Well, they told stories about when they were protesting in the '60s, and they were asking me.
Gotta love them old hippies.
Yeah, I mean they were really cool people, but like they were asking me questions about like, oh, it was I can't imagine how I would tell my children when I was raising them, or my grandchildren now, how to respond to dealing with the police, or how to respond to like all these incidents, And I told her, I told her honestly, I said, look, well, when I was much younger, elementary school, that's when my parents started teaching me about these things, how to deal with the police, how to react to instances of discriminatory behavior from people, and how to not respond to them. And I told her, like, even though they're valuable lessons, it's still from a very early age, it puts you on the defensive, like you're having to defend simply being yourself,
Because you
and
are.
like, and she was just like, she I don't know if she cried exactly, she was definitely like emotional about like that, and how like when her kids were younger, they were just free to play and just not worry about the kind of
Exactly.
things. Well, unfortunately, that's not the way it is. At least, growing up.
And that's not freedom.
Black, no,
That's
it's
not freedom.
It puts you in a very like wary kind of.
You're still in chains. You're still in chains. You. Hey, guess what, black people? Check this out. You're free, but you ain't free. All right. You got this 6-block radius here that you cool in. Outside of that, who knows what might happen? That ain't fucking free. Bitch, that's called a tether. Get the fuck out of here. Like.
So I spoke to them about like some of my travels, and going up to certain like as I said on Corey, like certain like little remote towns, mountain towns, and how we have to be on high alert when I see certain flags or certain, just getting a vibe for a place, and it's like, yeah, I can't. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. I'm like, well, I hope you don't, to be clear, but like that's the reality, and that's why the